Mylin counted the coins in her gloved hand for the third time in the biting winter wind. 2 quarters and a dime. All that remained of her life before her husband's debts consumed everything, including him. The train platform stood empty in the falling snow on December 24, 1883. The station clock read for 47 in the afternoon. She pulled the telegram from her coat pocket, the paper soft from repeated reading, teaching position, room and board. Start Christmas Day. Callaway Ranch. The pale band on her ring finger caught the lamplight. She'd sold her wedding ring 2 weeks ago in Cheyenne. 3 months married, 3 months widowed, and now standing in an unnamed Wyoming town with 60 cents and nowhere else to go. Miss Lynn. She turned. A man stood beside a wagon, snow gathering on his hat brim. He was a tall, white American with a weathered face, perhaps 35. His eyes were kind but cautious. "I'm Ben," he said, offering no surname. "I wrote about the teaching position." Mylin nodded, grateful he didn't comment on her threadbare luggage. He lifted her small trunk into the wagon as if it weighed nothing. "Storm's been waiting on you," he remarked. "I'm accustomed to weather turning against me," she replied quietly. He helped her onto the wagon seat. "Weather turns with folks out here," he said. "If they let it." They rode in silence through the deepening snow. Mylin noticed contradictions. His wagon was plain but well-made, his coat worn but quality wool. She assumed what made sense, a struggling rancher. Honest work, modest means. The darkness hid the land stretching for miles in every direction, all bearing the Callaway brand. "Ranch is another 20 minutes, Ben said. "You'll meet Anya tonight, my niece." "How old is she?" Mylin asked. 9. Lost her parents 6 months back. His voice carried a weight that stopped further questions. Mylin understood grief. She had worn it like a second skin. The ranch appeared through the snow, a main house, barn, and guest cabin glowing with warm light. It was a sanctuary. "The cabin's yours," Ben said, pointing to a small structure near the main house. "Figured you'd want your own space." Mylin climbed down, her legs unsteady. The prairie didn't care about her yesterdays, only what she'd do come morning. That was fine. Yesterday had nearly killed her. The main house felt empty despite its size. A fire crackled in the hearth, but the warmth couldn't quite reach the corners. Ben had gone to fetch Anya. A small face with huge dark eyes and tangled dark hair appeared at the top of the stairs. The child watched Mylin with the wariness of a wild creature. "Anya," Ben said gently from behind Mylin. "This is Miss Lynn. She's come to teach you." The child didn't move, her eyes never leaving Mylin's face. "Anya hasn't talked since her parents passed," Ben explained quietly. "Fever took them both in 3 days." She watched, helpless. Sometimes silence is the only wall a child can build. Mylin's heart broke and mended in the same moment. She knew about walls. She approached slowly, holding a reader she'd brought. "Hello, Anya. I thought we might." The child bolted up the stairs, and a door slammed. "Give her time," Ben said. "She's been hurt enough. Can't push healing her." Mylin lowered the book. "No, you can't rope what runs from you. You wait for it to come." Curious something shifted in Ben's expression, surprise, or perhaps recognition. "The position's yours if you want it," he said. "Room in the guest cabin, meals with us, modest wages. Anya needs schooling, but more than that, she needs someone who sees her as more than broken." Mylin thought of the 3 coins in her pocket and her family's letters returned unopened. A woman who'd married so poorly deserved her poverty. "I accept." Ben's relief was visible. He showed her to the cabin, a space prepared with care. Firewood was stacked by the stove, a quilt lay on the bed, and a lamp was filled with good oil. "Meals are at 7, noon, and 6, he said from the doorway. "Welcome to Callaway Ranch, Miss Lynn." He left her alone with the lamplight. She sat on the bed and allowed herself, for the first time in months, to believe she might survive. Through the window, she could see Ben's silhouette in the main house, his head bowed. 2 lonely people, 1 silent child. I can do this, she thought. I can help them. Outside, the storm howled. But inside, My Lin had found shelter. Christmas morning arrived with weak winter sun. My Lin dressed carefully in her better dress, dark blue, mended at the collar, and saw what Ben must have seen on that platform, a woman hollowed by loss but not yet broken. She followed footprints in the snow to the barn, where the air smelled of hay and horses. In the third stall sat Anya, her hand on a chestnut colt's velvet nose, her fingers moving gently. My Lin remembered her husband, how his charm had hidden desperation and debt, how his death had left her with nothing but his failures and her family's judgment. She'd fled her homeland with only her teaching certificate, earned against her parents' wishes. Now it was the only thing of value she owned. My Lin sat in the straw 5 feet from Anya. She didn't speak, didn't reach out. She just opened the book she'd brought and began reading aloud. Black Beauty by Anna Sewell. Chapter 1. The first place that I can well remember was a large pleasant meadow. Anya's hand stilled on the colt's nose. The child was listening. My Lin read for 20 minutes, her voice weaving a story about a horse who suffered and endured. When she finished the chapter, she closed the book. I'll be here tomorrow if you'd like to hear more. For she stood to leave, Anya's hand moved just an inch toward her, then stopped. Progress. At noon, Ben appeared in the barn doorway. His expression was a mixture of raw gratitude and something deeper. Christmas dinner's ready, if you'll both join me. The table was modest, but the dishes were fine china and the silver was real. Bachelor ranchers sometimes kept their mother's good things, she reasoned. Will you stay through the winter term? Ben asked as they ate. My Lin looked at the child, watching her with those huge, dark eyes, then at Ben, who carried his brother's death like stones in his pockets. Yes, she said. I'll stay that night. She unpacked her trunk in the cabin. 2 dresses, 1 reader, and her late husband's photograph, which she turned face down in a drawer. A handshake's a promise out here. She'd made her choice. January arrived with teeth. Snow piled against the buildings, and the ranch became an island in a white sea. My Lin established a routine. Every morning, she read to Anya in the barn. After 2 weeks, Anya began pointing at words. After 3, she whispered them: horse, beautiful, friend. Each word was a victory. My Lin built lessons around what Anya loved: arithmetic through counting feed bags, geography through ranch maps. Progress was slow but real. Every evening, Ben joined them in the parlor. He'd settle into a chair by the fire, ostensibly to help Anya, but My Lin saw the truth. He was lonely, hungry for conversation. You manage the ranch alone? My Lin asked one night after Anya had gone to bed. Since my brother died. He was the one with the head for business. I just know cattle and land. That seems like enough. Ben smiled, and it transformed his face. My brother would have laughed at that. He thought land without profit was just expensive dirt. My Lin found herself laughing too, looking forward to these hours when she and Ben talked about books and weather and nothing important at all. She noticed small things: how he ensured her cabin stayed warm, how books she'd mentioned appeared on the parlor table. The line between employer and friend was blurring. On a trip into town for supplies, the schoolmom, Mrs. Henderson, appeared at the general store, her smile knife-sharp. Mr. Callaway's employed you to teach his niece. How charitable. Though some do wonder about a young woman living on a bachelor's property, I'm employed in his household, same as any teacher, My Lin said evenly. Of course, dear. Though Mr. Callaway's position in the community does make people notice. Such a prominent man. My Lin didn't understand the emphasis but filed it away. She noticed how the town deferred to Ben, how shopkeepers didn't present bills, assuming it was respect earned through character. She didn't understand it was respect for the Callaway name. A 3-day blizzard trapped them indoors. During the worst night of the storm, Anya had nightmares. My Lin heard crying and ran to the main house, finding the child thrashing in bed. Sure, sweetheart, I'm here, she whispered, holding Anya and singing lullabies her own mother had sung a lifetime ago. Dawn light found them together, Anya peaceful in My Lin's arms. Ben stood in the doorway, his face raw with an emotion she couldn't quite read before he turned away. But she'd seen enough. Something was breaking open between them, and she was terrified of what would happen when it did. February brought brief warmth. "Will you stay forever?" Anya asked one afternoon in the barn. "As long as I'm needed," My Lin answered carefully. She couldn't bear being discarded again. "You're scared, like me," Anya said with eyes too knowing for 9 years. "Don't be. Papa likes you." My Lin's heart stumbled. She'd noticed Ben's kindnesses and had started responding despite herself, lingering over evening coffee longer than necessary. But she couldn't forget being the poor bride once, couldn't risk becoming dependent again. A bank manager arrived one afternoon. As My Lin served coffee, she heard him say, "The Callaway holdings are performing well, Mr. Callaway." "The railroad shares particularly, that's family business, Thomas." Ben's voice was quiet but firm. After the manager left, My Lin asked, "Estate?" "My brother's affairs," he replied. Still settling things, the explanation made sense. But she'd begun noticing other things, the quality of Anya's dresses, the leather-bound books, how the ranch ran like clockwork. One evening, she overheard ranch hands, "The boss keeps his money quiet after that Denver woman chased him for it." Her stomach went cold. She went to the study, found a file of newspapers, and started reading. "Cattle Baron Callaway dies, brother inherits empire." The article, 6 months old, detailed John Callaway's death and the estate passing to his younger brother, Ben, 3 ranches, railroad shares, substantial holdings. One of the territory's wealthiest cattlemen. Her hand shook. Ben had let her believe he was an ordinary, struggling rancher. She remembered her late husband, the charmer who'd hidden bankruptcy behind smiles. Was Ben the same? A rich man amusing himself with the poor widow? She heard his boots on the porch. There was no just Ben, he was one of the wealthiest men in Wyoming, and she'd been fool enough to fall in love with him. Mrs. Henderson returned on a cold February afternoon. "I wanted to welcome you properly, dear," the woman said, her smile like poisoned honey. "It's so generous of Mr. Callaway employing you. Everyone knows he's one of the wealthiest ranchers in the territory. Such Christian charity, taking in a destitute widow." Each word was a knife. Pity. All of it had been pity. She'd been the poor widow accepting charity, too stupid to realize it. She thought of her husband, how she'd sworn never to be fooled again. And here she was, fool enough for 2 lifetimes. She found Ben in the barn. Her anger came out shaking. "You let me believe you were ordinary. You're one of the wealthiest men in the territory, and you let me accept charity like a beggar." Ben's face went pale. "My Lin, it wasn't, never what? Never thought I should know I was your charity project." Her voice broke. "I cannot be that again. I won't be the poor widow you rescued out of Christian duty." "I saw a woman with more dignity in poverty than most possess in wealth," Ben said quietly. "I saw someone who made my niece smile for the first time in 6 months. I saw everything I needed." "You saw a charity case." "I saw you," but she couldn't hear him. The humiliation was too great. "I'll finish Anya's spring term, then I'm leaving." That night, Anya appeared at My Lin's cabin door, her eyes red from crying. "You're leaving because Papa has money." "It's complicated, sweetheart. Mama used to say adults make everything complicated." "You love him. He loves you." "That's not complicated." But it was. Pride was a cold companion. Anya stopped speaking again, stopped eating. The silence returned, heavier than before. My Lin and Ben moved through the house like ghosts. She'd keep her word, then she'd leave. March arrived with mud and confusion. The ranch felt oppressive. My Lin spent nights staring at fur drawings Anya had left on her pillow, My Lin reading, My Lin by the fire, My Lin holding Anya, and My Lin in a wedding dress. Was she angry about Ben's wealth, or terrified that even knowing it, she still loved him? She stripped away pride and fear and looked at the truth. She loved him, not his fortune. She loved the quiet man who stacked firewood at her door, who listened when she talked about books, who'd said, "You make this house breathe again." She loved him, and she'd thrown it away. In the main house, Ben struggled. He couldn't let Mylin go. Anya was withering without her. The child's drawing sat on his desk, her hope broken by adult fear. The storm struck mid-March without warning, during early calving season. Ben rode out at dawn to bring in the herd. Mylin watched him disappear into the white. Terror hit her. If he died out there, she'd never forgive herself for choosing wounded pride over love. She ran to the barn where ranch hands were saddling horses. "I'm coming," she said. "It's dangerous, I can ride." "I'm coming." At dawn, Ben returned, half frozen and swaying in the saddle. Mylin ran to him. "Don't you dare die on me, Ben Callaway. I haven't finished being angry with you or loving you." He nearly fell into her arms. She helped him inside, wrapped him in quilts, and forced hot broth down his throat. Anya found them by the fire. "You're scared like me," the child said. "After Mama and Papa died, I stopped talking because words hurt. But silence hurts more. Tell Papa. Tell him you're scared, but you love him anyway." Ben's eyes opened, fever-bright but focused. "Ben, I love you," Mylin said, the words rushing out. "I've been a coward and a fool. You hid your wealth because you'd been hurt. I ran because I'd been hurt. We nearly destroyed what we found. You found me," he said hoarsely. "A woman with 3 coins and more courage than anyone I've known. You gave my niece her voice back. You made this ranch a home. I don't care about the money," she finished. "I know," he whispered. "Because I wanted the same thing." Anya squeezed between them. "So you'll stay?" Mylin looked at Ben, at Anya, at the home they could build. "Yes," she said. "I'll stay." Late March brought real spring. One afternoon, Ben handed her some papers. It was his brother's will. The bulk of the fortune was in a trust for Anya. Ben received the land and a ranch manager's salary, modest by wealthy standards. "I'm not as rich as you think," he said. "I kept quiet because I needed to know someone wanted me, not the Callaway wealth." "This is wealth enough," Mylin said softly. He searched her eyes. "Enough for you to stay?" She went to town and accepted a permanent teaching position at the school board office, proving her independence. She returned to the ranch, where Ben was waiting. They walked to the creek, where willows swayed green. "I was a coward," he said, taking her hands. "But I never pitied you, Mylin. I marveled at you. Marry me. Not because you need shelter, but because you want this life. Because Anya needs a mother who chose her. Because I need a partner who sees me." He knelt in the spring grass. "Choose us, Mylin. Choose this." She saw the man who had helped her from the wagon on Christmas Eve, who had given her purpose and shelter and family. "I see you," she said. "That's who I love. That's who I choose." "Say yes." Anya's voice came from behind them. Mylin knelt and pulled the child into their embrace. "Yes, sweetheart. Yes, Ben. I choose you. I choose us, forever." Christmas Eve returned, 1 year later. Mylin stood in the schoolhouse, her former cabin transformed. Candles burned in every window as families crowded inside. Mylin wore deep green, her pregnancy just beginning to show. Anya stood beside her in red velvet, confident and bright. "Nervous?" Ben whispered. "Happy," she corrected. They'd married in April, a simple ceremony with the whole county attending. Mylin kept teaching, Mrs. Callaway to the town, Miss Lynn to her students. "Ladies and gentlemen," Mylin said, and the crowd quieted. Anya stepped forward first and recited Longfellow, her voice poised and clear. "I heard the bells on Christmas Day, their old familiar carols play." Mylin's eyes filled with tears. Late that night, the 3 of them stood in the schoolhouse doorway. Ben's arm encircled Mylin, his hand resting on her growing belly. Anya held her other hand. "A year ago, I prayed for help with one grieving child," Ben said. "And I prayed for shelter from the storm," Mylin added. Anya squeezed between them. "And God sent us each other. That's how family works." Mylin looked at her husband, her daughter, her home. 1 year ago, she'd had 3 coins and desperation. Now, she had wealth beyond measure, found not in railroad shares but in these 2 people. The frontier was harsh, but it made space for families built not on blood, but on choice, courage, and love. That was wealth enough. She closed the schoolhouse door. Candlelight danced behind them as they walked through the snow to the main house, a family complete, a home chosen, a future bright.